I'm not sure if many of you are aware of this, but like the government of Canada recently introduced a new bill. It's called Bill C-2. So it's like related to like the pandemic and all that. So I'm gonna pull up an article. I'm gonna pull an article up which helps explain it all. Um, well, actually it's from the government of Canada website. So it says remarks by the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance on the introduction of Bill C-2. So, so I think this was a speech from the um, Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister. So, yeah, it's from November 24th. So November 24th. It says check speech. Check-ins delivery. It says hello everyone. Um, when the COVID-19 crisis hit, our our government rapidly rolled out a historic set of broad-based programs so that we could save lives, ensure our economy could withstand public health restrictions, and have the backs of Canadian workers and Canadian businesses so they could get through the pandemic. Our income, wage, and rent support programs have helped keep food on the table, protect millions of jobs, and keep hundreds of thousands of Canadian businesses going through the darkest days of the pandemic. Having said that, our emergency measures were always designed to be temporary. I don't know about that. It seems like they're just extending the emergency measures. So to me, it seems like it's permanent. So then it says with high job rates, over a million jobs created, children back in school, and businesses across the country reopening, the time has come to adapt support measures to these new and improved circumstances. That's why in October, our government increased support that was appropriate at the height of lockdowns to more targeted support that will provide help where it is still needed, while also prudently and carefully managing government spending. That's why today, just this afternoon, I introduced legislation in Parliament to deliver this more targeted support. So in regards to government spending, they're like in I think they're like around billion. They're like around the $1 billion mark in regards to government spending. So what are they talking about? Like carefully managing government spending? You guys are in debt, so what are you guys talking about? Carefully managing government spending. Like, you guys are just spending like crazy. So what the hell are you talking about? Like carefully managing government spending. That says Bill C-2. So Bill C-2 allows us to move. And then it says Bill C-2 allows us to move forward while keeping in mind that the recovery is still uneven and that public health measures that save lives continue to restrict certain economic activities. Among the measures provided for in the bill is the Canada Worker Lockdown Benefit, a new income benefit that takes into account the public health situation remains uncertain and unpredictable. The Canada Worker Lockdown Benefit will provide $300 a week to workers who are directly affected by a COVID-related local lockdown and will be available to eligible workers retroactively on October 24, 2021, and through to May 7, 2022. We are taking this step because we want to make sure no one is left behind, including vulnerable workers who are unable to work against their will. Then it says the bill also proposes to extend eligibility for both the Canada Sickness Benefit and the Canada Caregiving Benefit until May 7, 2022, and increase the maximum duration of each benefit by 2 additional weeks. Bill C-2 is designed with an understanding that our economic recovery is still uneven, and that the public health measures that are saving lives continue to restrict some economic activity. Among the bill's measures is a new economic benefit, which recognizes that the public health situation continues to be uncertain and unpredictable. So, when it says that the public health measures are saving lives, that part sounds well. Actually, like the public health measures are like destroying lives, as many people are like unable to do anything, as now like a lot of places now require like people to be jabbed in order to like participate or even enter like their establishment and all that. So and also and yeah, and also like like in regard in with the hospitals, yeah, like people aren't able to get like the proper health care they need. So 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 yeah, in regards to yeah, like the public health measures saving lives, they're actually destroy. Yeah, like in reality, they're actually destroying lives. As a lot of people, they aren't able to get like the health care that they need. And I think like many hospitals now are, yeah, like they're also like many hospitals now they're having like staff shortages and all that because of these job mandates and all that. So they've had to like basically fire like any doctor or nurse that hasn't been jabbed. So that's causing like a shortage in the healthcare system. So and as a result, like a lot of people they aren't able to get the adequate healthcare that they need. And yeah, and it's like unless they have COVID, then it's like they're having their appointments delayed and all that. So they're not getting like the care they need. So and that's a result of these like public health measures too. So yeah, so when they say like public health measures are saving lives, it's doing the complete opposite. And then it says we want to make sure that businesses can continue to grow and recover and drive up Canada's labor force participation rates and our level of employment. That's why we're proposing to extend the Canada Recovery Hiring Program until May 7th, 2022, and increase the rate of support to 50%. This will encourage businesses to hire back workers, increase workers' hours, and create new jobs. Okay, so like when it comes to that last paragraph I just read, okay, so like when it comes to the economy in Canada, it's been struggling for like quite a while now. So and like this is even like before COVID or before 2020. So for all the lockdowns happen, as the country, like Canada, already had like the highest unemployment rate in the G7, like even before 2020. So like yeah, like when it comes to the Canadian economy, it's been like yeah, it's been going down the toilet for like quite a while. So and and yeah, like when it comes to like the labor force and all that, like and like employment, well now like it's now like a lot of workplaces they're saying how like they're making it mandatory for people to get jobs, otherwise they won't be hired. So yeah, like lots of workplaces now they're like firing people en masse if they haven't like been jabbed. So which I think is a violation of because it's none of the yeah like it's not like the workplace's business whether or not like the employee has been jabbed or not. And I think it's like yeah like it's something that's not like the workplace's business as to whether or not like employees jabbed or not. So yeah, like a lot of workplaces they're like basically firing people en masse if they haven't been jabbed. So yeah, which is like causing which is why like lots of workplaces are hiring now all of a sudden because they're having to just fire unjabbed employees. So that's caused like all that's all of a sudden why like lots of workplaces are hiring now because of these like job mandates. So and also like yeah like even before 2020, as Canada already had like the highest unemployment rate. And um yeah, and like in regards to labor force, yeah, like when it comes to labor force like participation and all that, yeah, like many Canadians, like they're not able to find work anyways. So yeah, like many Canadians, like they weren't able to find any work. So because a lot of workplaces, like they, like they, yeah, like there's like a lot of cheap labor practices in Canada, like that's happening, which I think it still is, even with the pandemic and all. But like even before like the 2020, like there's a lot of cheap labor practices happening in Canada where a lot of like workplaces or a lot of employers they would simply prefer just to hire a foreign worker compared like over like a domestic worker or a Canadian worker as you call it, whatever you want to call it. So I guess because like foreign workers they get paid much less and they have less rights than domestic workers do. So like meaning like it's probably easier for the employer to like take advantage of them, which is why like a lot of employers like they prefer hiring like these like foreign workers or like temporary foreign workers. So yeah, like a lot of Canadian citizens, especially those like that were born and raised in Canada, they aren't able to find work because like a lot of workplaces they simply like prefer hiring like foreigners over domestic workers. So yeah, so that explains like the whole labor force participation problem and all that. So and then moving on, like in the article it says we also know that there's some businesses that have been most deeply affected by the pandemic and that continue to face significant pandemic-related challenges. The new tourism and hospitality recovery program will deliver wage and rent subsidies of up to 75% to employers such as hotels, restaurants, travel agencies, and tour operators. The bill includes details of the types of businesses that would be eligible for the program. We have also released a backgrounder today to give businesses the clarity they need. For businesses in all sectors, the hardest hit business recovery program will provide support through wage and rent subsidies to employers who have experienced deep and enduring losses during the pandemic with a subsidy rate of up to 50%. The lockdown program, the local lockdown program will be there to provide employers facing temporary new local lockdowns the subsidy rate of up to 75% through the wage and rent subsidy programs. This is really important because it will ensure that local authorities and public health officials can continue to make the right public health choices, knowing that the support will be there for workers and businesses. We will continue to have measures in place that such that any publicly listed corporation that chooses to increase executive pay while receiving government support will have the wage subsidy support clawed back. We estimate the total cost of the measures in the bill will be approximately $7.4 billion. This is a meaningful and intentional fiscal pivot. The broad-based set of support measures which we introduced at the height of the pandemic and which came to an end on October 23rd, 2021 had an estimated cost of $289 billion. Fighting COVID-19 and the subsequent lockdowns we put in place to save lives required unprecedented government spending in Canada and around the world. Canadians supported that extraordinary spending because they understood it was not only the compassionate thing, it was the right thing to do economically. So, like from reading all this, it just sounds like the government is just throwing more money at, like, it seems like they're just like throwing more money at businesses because their own wrongdoing. So like instead of just allowing the businesses to reopen, the government is saying like, oh, they just want to give them more loans, more subsidies, and all that, which they don't really need. It's just the government, they don't want them to like fully reopen. So I guess because they want them to become, I guess because they want the businesses to become dependent on government. So yes, which is why like I guess government doesn't want businesses to reopen. So as a result, they're just throwing all this money at the businesses, supposedly to help them out, but and also like the government, they're running like $1 billion deficits. So where's all this money coming from? As they're not like where's all this money coming from? As like because they're in debt, like they're just spending money that they don't have. So yeah, as I was saying, like where's all the money coming from? If they're in debt, then how, like, where are they getting all this money from? Like as they keep on like they're printing it from like the bank. Yeah, like the Bank of Canada is like helping the government print all this out, but as a result of all like this money printing, they're devaluing the currency. Yeah, like the Canadian dollar, like it's losing its value as a result of all this excessive money printing to like help the government pay for all their like spending plans. So like as a result, they've they're causing issues like inflation to rise. So yeah, it's like to it's like they've created another problem, like as a result of like trying to solve one problem. So now it's like they're just creating more problems now as a result of all this like spending. So it's also why like a lot of Canadians now are talking about how they can't afford anything anymore because of inflation, which is thanks to all this government spending, like which isn't like really helping with anything, but it's causing like a lot of Canadians to be poorer because like the value of their money has like decreased, so they aren't able to afford the same things they were able to like get to like afford before. So like all this inflation, it's causing like yeah, it's making Canadians poor and all that, and with the government they don't seem interested in all in like in like fighting inflation, but instead they're more interested in just printing more and more money and throwing it at businesses, I guess, hoping that it'll help them in some way instead of just allowing the businesses to fully reopen. So yeah, that's a problem. And then it says, as of last month, Canada has recovered 101% of the jobs lost to the COVID recession, compared to just 81% of jobs recovered in the U.S. Today, there are more active businesses in Canada than before the pandemic hit. Thanks in large part to our government support measures, we have avoided the sort of deep economic scarring that followed the 2008 recession, and that would have done permanent damage to the economy. So, like in that part, so in that paragraph there, I wonder where they got that percentage from, like 101%. Like where did they get that from? From because a lot of yeah, because a lot of workplaces they're struggling to like stay open during the lockdowns and all these restrictions, and um yeah, and yeah, in some cases like some of the businesses are just having to shut down because they aren't able to handle like all these restrictions and yeah, like all these lockdowns and restrictions. So in some cases, like businesses are having to shut down. So like, what is the government talking about? Like 101% of the jobs. Like I, so yeah, like I have a feeling it's more than that. Like 101%. Like I have a feeling it's like more than that. Because and also when you can include the fact that the Canadian economy has been struggling even before 2020, then it's to me like it sounds like a little bit suspicious as to like where they got that number from because the Canadian economy has been struggling for a while now. So they're trying to say like how yeah, yeah, and they're trying to like somehow say that's a good thing in comparison to the U.S. Well, first off, like the American economy, there it's like more like bigger and yeah, like the American economy, like they're yeah, like it's bigger than like the Canadian economy, and yeah, and they don't yeah, and like before the lockdowns happened and all that, the economy in America was like booming in comparison to Canada's economy, which was like sinking. So like they're trying to say how somehow like the amount of jobs recovered in Canada is better compared to the U.S., which like I don't think like yeah 101% like I don't think like yeah I doubt like it's yeah I doubt it's 101%. I'm sure like it's more yeah like mm, yeah like like I'm sure like in terms of jobs that have been lost, like I'm sure it's more than 101%. But the government they just want to downplay that and say like how somehow like how it's a good thing. So Then it says with Bill C-2, we hope we will continue to have Canadians' backs while delivering support that is more targeted and prudently manages public finances. I hope all parliamentarians will vote to pass legislation so that Canadians who need support can access it without undue delay. Finally, I want to reiterate and emphasize as forcefully as possible. So, okay, so note that part. So note this part here as forcefully as possible. That the single most important economic policy for Canada continues to be making sure everyone who can get jabbed does get jabbed. So she's saying like as forcefully as possible, so meaning that they want to force people into getting these jobs whether they like to, whether they want to or not. So this part here, like, yeah, so this line here, like, pretty much sums up like the like Bill C-2. So then it says we have one of the highest jab rates in the world, with nearly 89% of Canadians 12 and older having received at least one dose. We have the second lowest mortality rate in the G7. Children between 5 and 11 have started getting jabbed this week. That is wonderful news. Many of our parents and grandparents are now getting their third booster shot. Speaking as a daughter, I can say what a relief that is. I think that's true for a lot of Canadians. Well, to me, I don't think that's good. So, and yeah, and I know like recently, like in yeah, like in the Scotiabank Arena, they were having a day where they were basically like, jabbing the kids. So yeah, so like the parents, they would just take their kids to the Scotiabank Arena where they would get inoculated with these jabs. So um, yeah, and to me, like, that's not wonderful. That's not wonderful news. That's bad news because these children, like, they're like at the least yeah, like they're like the least affected group. So why is there this? Why is there a push to like get them inoculated? So like I don't understand that. So and yet here they're saying like how it's a good thing. Oh, and yeah, and also like now they're trying to push the booster shots as a result of this new like variant. Now the government, they're trying to push these booster shots now, and I think they might be saying like how if you're double jab, like that's not considered to be fully jabbed. So because I know some countries, they're now saying how if you've taken two doses of the jab, that's not considered fully inoculated. So and they're saying how you have to take a booster shot every 6 months. So, which, to me, doesn't sound like getting back to normal. So, and then it says, let's work hard to be sure everyone gets the jobs they're eligible for. Speaking as Canada's finance minister, it is so important for us to do that. To do that, not only for our health but also for our economy. As a country, we can be proud of how we've come together to fight COVID-19. Our battle is not quite finished yet, but we're getting there. The measures in this legislation introduced today are an important part of what we need to do to get the job done. Thank you, and now we will hear from my colleague Carla Qualtro. Okay, so that's the end of the. Yes, that's the end of the speech. So, okay, yeah. So this bill C-2, it's basically just the government saying they just want to continue with like these like subsidy programs, and that they're just gonna spend more and more money, even though like they're in debt, and they're just spending, and like the money they're spending is basically money that they don't have as a result of all the debt they're in. So And then they're also saying how like the main plan is to just get everybody job as forcefully as possible. She said in the speech here, so meaning that they're gonna force people to get job whether they want to or not. So as like they seem like they just want to force everyone, including children, to get the job. So and they think that if everybody gets job, then somehow the economy will get back to normal. But that's not. But like if they really wanted the economy to get back to normal, then they should just let like the businesses like reopen completely instead of putting all these restrictions on them. So and also like these like wage subsidies and all that, it's not going to help the businesses in any way, as they're not as like a lot of these businesses would simply prefer if they were open without restrictions and doing their and making money themselves without any government assistance. So I can close that now. So yeah, this bill C-2, it just seems like it's all about just it seems like um, it's all about like the government just like forcing everyone to get jobs. So yeah, like I guess the whole summary of this bill C-2 is like how the government they just want to like they plan on spending like more money and giving more subsidies and all that to businesses instead of letting them like reopen, and also that they want to forcefully like make everyone, including children, get jobbed, which that's like a violation of people's rights on so many levels. So, so yeah, yeah, like it's just like very yeah, like I know in some countries, like in the United States, I think like I think the court, like the federal court in the United States, they had to strike down the job mandate because yeah, like Joe Biden, he was trying to force like all the like even private, like he was even trying to force private businesses to like push these job mandates on their employees, but like the federal court, I think they had to strike it down. So like as a result, I think now like the job mandate for I think for private businesses, like it's been like rescinded or dropped. So that's what's happening in the U.S. But in Canada, it seems like complete opposite is happening. As the government, they're just like it's like they're going the complete opposite direction as they're trying to like bring in more restrictions, and now they want to inoculate kids as well, even despite them being like the least affected groups, even though like they're like the least affected group of getting sick and all that. So yeah, it just shows like the direction Canada's going in, and it's not in a good direction. And yeah, and like a lot of parents, they don't seem to be concerned about it. Yeah, like a lot of parents, they seem to be going along with it too, and they don't seem to care that their kids are going to be exposed to like side effects and all that from getting the jab. So that's concerning too. And yeah, like yeah, it's just like sad, like the direction the country's going in. And yeah, like the country seems to be going like backwards instead of just like allowing things to go back to normal. So yeah, that just sums up like Canada. Yeah, it just sums up like Canada in general, as I guess we just seem to be doing the opposite. So some countries are like no, some countries are like calling or like removing like the jobs. Like I know, so I think Taiwan, like they stopped like I think they had to recall the jobs because of the side effects they were causing on the children and all that, or young people. So, but in Canada, they're not. They're just like encouraging people to get these jabs despite the side effects. So yeah, it's a